What's up, dudes? Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Schedule's all kind of fucked up. Had to meet with the investor this morning. Everything's fine. But I'm just now heading to the gym at 2:11, and I normally try to go at like 12:30. So, and then I have a meeting with locals that I can't skip. And then I have Baz at 5 p.m. So the live chat might not be today. I did have a guest cancel tomorrow, so we might end up just doing the live chat tomorrow at 4 p.m. We could fit it in today, but it's kind of it's going to be like 30 minutes, and that's just kind of gay. I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to try to fit it in today, and might do like a short one today and then do a 2-hour one tomorrow. I've wanted them to be 2 hours, and for the last 4 weeks in a row, they haven't been 4 hours or 2 hours, and that's nobody's fault but my own. I keep fucking up. I think that's kind of the problem with. If it's another guest, I fucking will turn the world. I will bulldoze the world to get there on time, which is itself a lie. I'm always late. But if it's myself, I have like no respect for myself, so I'll just show up late to my own thing. I'll show up late to my video game stream. I'll show up 3 hours late. But if it's a guest, I'll be there within 10 minutes. So that might be tomorrow. The live stream might be tomorrow. I know I keep saying Mondays at 2 p.m., but clearly it's 2:12 p.m. and I haven't even gone to the gym yet. So best case scenario, we're looking at it today at 4 p.m., if even. So that's fake and gay. I'm fake and gay. I apologize. Tomorrow we're gonna have Clay Martin. I guess I'll just upload this to Rumble. Maybe no, fuck Rumble. Got Dale on Wednesday. Video game streams going well. Blah blah blah. Microphone great update. Blah blah blah. Not a whole lot to update, honestly. Just purchased some of the accessories for the new camera that will be on the gaming stream. I have the lens already. I just bought the cam link, the Elgato cam link, the power source, and the fucking whatever HDMI cable I need. I have a tripod, and I have a $300 lens. I just need the $629 camera body, and then that will replace that little white camera. As I said yesterday, you can see the Shure, the SM7B, the same one I use for the podcast. I now have one for the gaming stream, so that's cool. I don't really know what else. Yeah, I mean, please support the show. Go to locals, man. Please, you can promo code Tommy. You can get free shit. I do these videos every day. I'll upload this one on Rumble. This is what the locals updates are, but they're normally much longer. They're like 10 minutes. Or just buy the merch, man. I know those hoodies are expensive. I know they're $48. The profit margin's $5. I don't control the $43, man. That's trade routes. That shit's stretching back to like the fucking, I don't know, China 500 years ago. I didn't have a witty comment. Coming up this week, though, we got so we had yesterday we had Prado and Moeller telling their Billy Wallace stories. Today's Baz coming on telling his Billy Wallace stories. I had Ted Eye on a month ago telling his Billy Wallace stories, and Wednesday is going to be Dale Comstock telling his Billy Wallace story. On Thursday we have Jeff Nyquist. Haven't had him in a while. On Saturday we have Dave Gentry, who came on a couple weeks ago. And we have a new guy who I've had on before, Lee Slusher. He's I guess a geopolitical cool cat. So that's that. I'm trying to put together some bigger episodes that I can't really allude to right now because I don't want to jinx them. But yeah, I mean, right now it's just sort of the continuing to update the gaming setup. It's getting a little wild. I mean, you can't see it. There's the 86-inch flat screen right here. You got the gaming PC, the streaming PC, the mini PC, the Elgato capture card, the 49-inch widescreen, the Elgato Stream Deck, the webcam, and then the Shure SM7B with the Scarlett Focusrite interface, a cloud mixer, another 40-inch monitor, with another keyboard. So there's actually 3 computers over here. The gaming one, the streaming one, and the mini one. Gaming one goes to the big boy, the 86-inch. The streaming one goes to the 79, not the 79-inch, the 49-inch. And that's where I monitor the stream, the video game stream. I monitor the Rumble chat, the Rumble chat, the OBS kind of stream, Guilded and Discord, and then over here is where I pull up the actual stream that you are watching on Rumble, and I try to make sure that I can get the same image y'all are getting so I can see when it fucks up. Well, I guess if this is going on Rumble, they don't know the whole background. I am trying to get the Sony Alpha 6400 mirrorless DSLR 4K camera that I use for the podcast. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get another one and put it over here for the gaming stream. Right now I have the lens and I have the tripod, and I just ordered the Elgato 4K stream link thingy, the power source and all that good stuff. I just need the body of the 6400 now, and that's going to run about $629. Probably be able to get that sometime in mid-May with Patreon and locals, mostly locals, if not all locals. And then that's the next step for the gaming setup. After that, I think the next step is going to be getting a vertical monitor to put behind this camera right here. Because right now I have a monitor behind the camera and it's working, but I'm looking off to the side and it's kind of weird and it almost looks like I'm looking down a tunnel. So I think I'm going to need a vertical screen to put it behind. And then, yeah, after that is going to save up for the Aventum X, which is a $27,000 gaming computer. Do I need it? Absolutely not. Do I want it? You're goddamn fucking right I want it. So I guess I'm just, part of me is a little concerned that all I do is upgrade the studio. Because I wonder if I'm glossing over something deeper, a pursuit for a fulfillment. Am I trying to fill it up with physical things? And then I say, no, this is for the business. But is that itself a conscious trick where I'm trying to say, no, this isn't. You're not going down the same path of folly that millions of men have gone down, trying to fill the inner void with physical objects. You're doing it for a business. So I'm trying to stay aware of that. But another part of me is like, is that not like one of the sweetest things in life? Is just what Teddy Roosevelt say? By far and away, the best aspect of life is working hard towards something worth working hard towards. Like, do I want to slow down? I feel like I should constantly be upgrading this thing. I really do hope that, this is iteration 3 of the studio. The first iteration was kind of 4. First iteration was above my parents' garage with a MacBook. The second iteration was still on the MacBook in the parents' garage, but I got this chair. I turned it around. I got a flag. I put a black background around it. I got moving blankets to create sort of sound suppression, and I got some ring lights, and I got the Shure microphone. So to me, that was iteration 2, because that was pretty different. The first one was just MacBook in an echoey room. I flipped it around so I wasn't facing an empty room. I put the flag behind me, black sheets, moving blankets because they were cheaper than sound panels. I had a webcam from Apple, and I got this microphone and it had some ring lights. So that was, to me, that was kind of iteration 2. That was around episode 300. You can go back and find it. Iteration 3 was moving out into my own apartment in Salisbury, Maryland, and that was the sound panel iteration. That was the iMac the iMac instead of the MacBook, and that was the Sony 4K, as well as I had a Focusrite and a cloud lifter. That was the 3rd iteration. This studio right now is the 4th iteration. It's an entire room, whereas in Maryland, I also lived in my studio. My bed was in the same room. Now I actually have my own studio room, and, you can see it's pretty fancy schmance. I can't really move the iMac around that much. But it's got this whole workstation. It's got the whole gaming workstation. In Maryland, the gaming setup was in another room. It was just a big empty room. It was very sad. It was just a chair and a TV and then nothing. It was just an empty room with like no sunlight. It was very sad. But now with this place, this is, to me, this is the 4th gen. This is the cool neon lighting. kind of the mood lighting on the flag, separate tables for the setups. And then the gaming stream is starting to kind of become self-aware. It's becoming its own thing. It's got 3 computers. It's developing, and I guess I'm trying to imagine what is the 5th gen gonna look like. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I gotta respond to this. Sorry about that. So to me, what? 1st gen, 2nd gen, 3rd gen, 4th gen. I'm trying to imagine the 5th gen. So like when I was living in Maryland and I had my 3rd gen, which was the weird kind of cubby hole that I built in my room with moving blankets nailed to the ceiling, that weird little Ted Kaczynski shack I had in my studio. I remember I was in a hotel in Baltimore. I was about to fly out to my little brother's bachelor party. So this was like June 2022. And I remember I woke up the next day and meditated. And I was meditating in this hotel room that was like on the 5th or 6th floor, which, coming from my 2-story apartment in Salisbury, Maryland, which is really just a highway exit, I felt like I was in a fucking skyscraper. I felt like I was in the roaring 20s. And I was like looking out over the airport, and like the sun was rising. I was looking down at the cars, and I was meditating. The room was very clean. Obviously it's a hotel room, so they just scrubbed all the cum and diarrhea off the walls. And I was in this hotel room, and I was looking around, and I was very much in like the cubby mindset of, it's like those video games where you're like a shitty resistance fighter. That's what the old studio was this weird cubby. Everything was kind of like held together with strings and shit. It's the fucking shitty trope from every movie or video game, like we're the resistance and everything's spray painted, all that faggoty shit. And like Just Cause 3 and Just Cause 4 and Far Cry 6, you're like this weird resistance and everything's spray painted and duct tape, and like that's all well and good, but like I want to be the evil empire. Like I don't want to be the shitty resistance. I want to be like the government funded, Blackwater suppression team. I want to do the bidding of the demons. And I was in this room, I was in this hotel room, and I was meditating, and I just kind of had this idea. Just like when I had the idea for the Cubby studio while I was still living with my parents, I was just kind of like meditating and visualizing. I was like, oh, that's what I want it to look like. I want it to just be this like whole of media, just these cameras and microphones and shit. And it was very cool for what it was. And I enjoyed it for what it was when it was. But when I was in that hotel room meditating in like June 2022, I was like, I want it to be clean and crisp. I want it to be sharp. And so I started to have this idea of like, little did I know, I was like visualizing where I live now. Because in my mind, I was like, I want to go live in the mountains. But I started to look around. I was like, I want like a clean room with a lot of space. And I want it to be kind of futuristic. And sure enough, I had no idea. But I ended up moving up to Portland. I had no idea I was going to live in Portland. I literally thought I was going to move into like the mountains in New Hampshire. But why? I don't know. That requires money for a house that I don't have. But so I moved. So I'm on the 5th floor. You can't really see it because the exposure's all washed out. But I'm on the 5th floor looking at downtown. And that's where I set up this whole room. And it may not look spacious. It may look still very crowded. But for anyone that watched the podcast while I was back in the old studio, that was episode 418 to 980. Not that I'm OCD. But that was, I mean, truly, I had to like turn sideways and then do this weird shimmy. This like L-shaped shimmy just to get into the studio. And my chair barely fit in the studio. So I'd have to like get in and then like rotate with like my legs pulled up just so I wouldn't hit anything else. And like if I moved back, I would be hitting the wall right now. If I moved to the left, I'd be hitting the microphone. If I moved to the right, I'd be hitting sound panels. So this studio is actually like a giant step up in terms of spaciousness. Like the fact that there's area to walk around, the fact that I can just like do this is absurd. And the fact that this whole thing actually holds like 2 setups. It holds the podcast setup and the gaming setup. This was my like image for my idea for the next one. It was very clean, fucking a lot of screens, kind of spaceshipy vibe. But I remember when I was still living in Salisbury, I felt like I was stagnating. I felt like I was just felt like I was treading water, and I wasn't really going anywhere. I wasn't going backwards, but I didn't feel like I was necessarily excelling forward. And I vividly remember sitting on my bed meditating. This wasn't in the hotel. This was in my apartment. Looking at my little like cubby setup, which I mean, there's some old videos of it you can find. Where I mean, it looks like a fort that kids would make in a living room. And I was looking at it, and I was like, this thing is like such a level up. I'm remembering meditating, and in that meditation, I remember thinking about living at home. And I was like, I used to fantasize about moving from a MacBook to an iMac. I remember fantasizing about going from a webcam to like a professional cinema camera. I remember fantasizing about buying sound suppression panels instead of using blankets on like old rocking chairs. And just how cool I thought that would be. And it finally came to pass, but I had been there for like a year. And it had just sort of become normal. And I remember seeing a quote that was like, isn't it funny how we dream of things and fantasize about things and work towards things that we could never imagine getting. And then one day we wake up and realize we've had these things for a year and you don't even bat an eye at it. And I just remember thinking of like how wild it was that I had my own apartment, that I wasn't living with my mom and dad, that I was like doing my own thing. And then I had this sort of, and it sounds like cheesy white girl shit, but I just remember thinking, I was like, you have to have that same like daring hope. When you're falling in love and it's very scary because you're being vulnerable, but the reward is so great. By being vulnerable, you can actually find love and safety and friendship and laughter that can theoretically last the rest of your life. It's like a weird payoff. It's like fusion energy. Like you put in X, but you get 1.5X out. Not that I break everything down into equations like a fucking retard. But I remember thinking, I was like, if you were to like dare to dream of a better studio, and just like when I was living, this is getting very personal now, just like when I was living above my parents' garage, I would almost like chastise myself for dreaming of like a bigger, better studio. I was like, dude, you got a shitty podcast, you work at a liquor store, like you're never gonna get out of here. And then I would just like lie to myself. I think I had a bloody nose again. I would just lie to myself and be like, but what if? Like what if I did make it out? And then so I did. And so I look at this, please say this is recording. Fuck, okay, because sometimes I make these videos and they don't record. So I remember sitting in my apartment and thinking, what would the next iteration be? Because at that point I had gotten used to it, right? I'd interviewed Dr. Malone a couple times, Dr. McCullough a couple times, all right, Charlie Duke a couple times. And a part of me was almost like, don't be greedy. Be happy for what you have, like keep your head down. But another part of me was like, fuck that, like take my dick out, let's fuck the universe. And I was like, well, and then it goes back to the hotel. And I was like, if it was better. And I pretty much imagined this room. Not perfectly, but the general idea, even the lights, like I was like, I wanted this like cuboid light structure. And yeah, I was like, I would get a giant flat screen. And I had this idea of kind of like bringing back the merch store and of like elevating the gaming channel. And all these things have come to pass. And then even the apartment leveling up was like in my shitty apartment. Not shitty, it was great. But I mean, kind of bumblefuck apartment. And now I live in like a dope building. I live on the 5th floor. I live in downtown. My building has a gym and a pool and a sauna. Like, I technically don't have to leave, but I still do. I like walking to the gym. I'm closer to family. I'm a quick drive to my brother's house. I'm an hour away from my parents. And the podcast, the subscriber count has gone higher than I thought it would in a long time. It's at 16,000. And kind of everything I want is here. And it's so cool. It's so fucking cool. But then there's that little part of me that's like, okay, this thing that you once dreamed of is now here. Like, do you have the balls to now dream bigger again? And the reason I say it's having balls is because by dreaming about it, you have started to give into it. You've started to express love towards it. Again, it's flirting and flirting back. You've started to show some vulnerability, right? And that implies that you can be burned and you can be let down and it can fail, and that sucks. But I'm starting now to think of, like, what is the 5th gen? And it doesn't mean that I'm not happy for this. That's not it at all. But to me, it's like winning a lottery for $1 million, knowing you're going to get 500,000 out of it. You win a $200 million lottery, knowing you're going to get 100 million out of it. And some people go, well, I should get all of it. I look at it the opposite. I'm like, be happy for what you have. So you aim for a massive amount, knowing you're probably going to get like half. So my logic has always been that whatever I am enjoying now I'm in the wake of, like, the golden shimmering thing I'm dreaming of. So, like, living above my parents' garage and updating that studio. In my mind, I wasn't living in that studio. I was focusing on my own apartment and my own studio. And that's the ship out on the horizon. And it has a wake. Living above my parents' garage was being in that wake. If I had focused on trying to have a studio above my parents' garage, I never would have had it. But by focusing on something much greater, I then have the trickle down from it. So then getting into my apartment in Salisbury, I started to dream of this place. And I didn't have this place. I had the wake of it. I was in Studio 3 dreaming of Studio 4. But only by dreaming of Studio 4 did I get to have 3. And so now I'm in Studio 4. And it has the whole honeymoon, it's fucking great, you're in love with it. But now I'm starting to think of, what is Studio 5? And it's very nerve-wracking to start dreaming bigger, because you just think about, how can I get let down? But that's, I guess, maybe an open-ended idea that I can leave here for now. Yeah, actually, I kind of feel like this is a solo rant. This isn't really a podcast. This really isn't a locals update. I feel like this is kind of a solo rant now. That I don't like doing. Whenever I don't go to the gym, I start to get anxious. So we're gonna leave in a minute. But that's kind of like how I view things. I'm aiming for first, knowing that second's gonna be pretty dope. And then it's kind of a weird philosophical thing, because you can never be in first. Because the very idea of being somewhere is that you're dreaming of something better than that. So it's not compromise of aiming for first and being happy with second. It's knowing that you'll never actually reach tomorrow. It's always today. You can never actually be in tomorrow. So right now I'm in a very dope studio with, one iMac, a gaming PC, a streaming PC, a mini PC, 1 monitor, 2 monitor, 3 monitor, 4 monitor, 5 monitor, 4 keyboards, fucking 4 webcams, right? 4 webcams. 5, 6, 7 microphones, 120 terabytes of storage. Probably I don't know, 2,000 feet of cables. and it's dope. But I want to know what the next iteration is. And I don't know quite what it is. It's a weird thing. It feels like less of your own idea and more of a download. It's something you get, and then you go, that's it. And you know, just like falling in love, like you just know, right? When you meet the right person, you just know. There's no doubt in your mind. You're like, oh, this is the person I should date. And you can't force it, right? It's like that quote, love is a lot like farting. You can't force it or it'll just be shit. Yeah, I know it's a lowbrow diarrhea joke. Fuck off. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of how I think about shit. So I guess I'm just, part of me is like, and it's always a paradigm shift, right? There are these weird hurdles of like when I was in my parents' place, I was like, how do I make this studio better? And you have this idea of, I always go back to this example. Yeah. I always go back to this example. In the year 1900, I think it was Popular Mechanics did like this, just like spread. And it was, I think it was Popular. That's a really fucking old magazine. It might have been what it was something else. And it was like, what do you think the year 2000 will look like? And I brought this up a million times before. And it's kind of hilarious. You have all these like Jules Verne watercolor paintings. And it's like, in the future, firefighters will have leather wings and they'll fly to great heights and take down the fires of the skyscrapers. And you're like, that's retarded. But is it? Now, the mechanism was retarded. It was a bunch of guys in these like pickle helmet fucking World War I helmets with cyberpunk wings like squirting fires. Like, that's retarded. But it's not retarded, because what is it actually implying? It's implying the ability to fight fire from the air. That's not retarded at all. We do it with forest fires, right? The Evergreen 747. Like, all right. It was like, another one was like, you'll have these like, almost these weird like gramophone type, like metal, almost like tuba type things. And they'll have metal pipes going to your friends' houses. And you'll be able to look at your friend in the eye through a series of mirrors. And you could even bring them out to the public park, so long as you had like a 10,000 foot metal cable to bring with you. And like, that's retarded. But then you realize that's just FaceTime. That's Skype. That's Zoom. So the idea is the same. It's how it is fleshed out is always wildly and often hilariously incorrect. Everyone will have a personal hot air balloon. And it shows like some guy, like, think 1900, like 15 years before World War I. So like the slicked over hair and like the 4-piece suit. And he's like shaking hands with his son. I guess they didn't hug back then. And he's in this like suburban neighborhood. And you see all these like hot air balloons in the sky. You see a couple taking off, and like he's getting into it. Much like you'd get in your car in the morning and, bye honey, bye kids, and you start the engine. He's like going over and like lighting the fucking Bunsen burner under the woven basket that he's going to fly to wherever the fuck. And you're like, that's retarded. But it's not. Because it's personal, it's machine driven personal transport, right? So it's a car. A couple of years before the Model T. You can go one step further and say it's flight. It's air travel. Well, no, it's wrong in that not everyone has their own flying car, but it's right in the idea that it's air travelable, accessible to the average person. So you don't all have your hot air balloons. Instead, you buy an economy ticket and sit next to a morbidly obese bitch from Skokie, Illinois. But that's neither here nor there. It's air travel. There's like this like big like almost like wood chipper in the middle of this classroom, and the teacher's just dumping books into it, and all these wires are coming out from the base of it, attaching to kids' heads, and they have these like metal helmets on, and they're accessing all of the information. That's Wikipedia in your phone, right? That's you being able to access anything. Right now I could read about some battle that I've never read of before. So the idea is correct they got the details wrong. They fleshed it out completely incorrectly, which makes sense, right? Because those things didn't exist. You can't, if they knew that they existed, they would have invented them. They didn't know. So they were using whatever current model they had. So that's kind of like a thing I do with this podcast, is I always look out and I have an idea of what it will be. How it gets there is always laughably incorrect. Like, I look back at my dreams, and my dreams are always the same. Upgrade the studio, move out of mom and dad's house at age 30, build my own studio, get more subscribers, build an even cooler studio, move back up to New England. How it unfolded was always so alien to whatever I thought it was going to be. In 2020, I was like, I just need to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, and then YouTube will monetize me. I actually believed that. I actually believed that YouTube was going to monetize me, a blue-eyed, white-skinned, conservative, Christian, heterosexual, America-loving male. I actually believed that. I was actually shocked when I started to get strikes for talking about 2020 election discrepancies, or COVID rollout, or suppressing ivermectin. I actually thought that, I was like, this is absurd. Surely they know this is the United States. We have the First Amendment. There must have been a mistake. That's how fucking stupid I was, right? And I am aware, which also implies that whatever I'm talking about now, I'm looking at in 3 years from now going, that fucking idiot. That fucking idiot. He actually thought that it was going to work out through Rumble. And I don't want to jinx that because I really like the people at Rumble. But I could very well be looking back from 2027 and being like, remember when you thought Rumble was going to be the thing? Little did you know it was going to be fucking, you're going to get sponsored by Cracker Jacks. Like, it's, who would have thought the MLB was going to be the reason my podcast succeeded? Like, it's going to be something like that. And so, like, I'm going to get monetized by YouTube. And it wasn't that at all. I was working at a liquor store, and some dude found my show through an episode I did with like 11 views with Dale. And he was like, I love your show. And we ended up chatting, and now he's my investor. I never in a million years thought some dude was just going to reach out to me and start writing me checks. What the fuck? I never thought the podcast was going to start to get views because of COVID. I didn't give a fuck. I remember I wanted to interview Dr. McCullough because I watched an interview with somebody knocking on my door. Not somebody above me. I wanted to interview Dr. McCullough because I watched an interview with him and I thought he looked smart. I wanted to interview Dr. Malone because I was like, I think I saw him on Weinstein's podcast with Steve Kirsch. And I was like, this is a cool cat. I didn't know a fucking thing about him. I liked his beard and I thought he sounded smart. I still like his beard and he does still sound smart. Like, I never intended for COVID to be that. I've said it a million times, and I will never not say it. I don't give a shit about COVID. All of my grandparents passed before COVID. I don't fucking care. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna, well, I'm a virtue signaling person, and I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. I don't give a shit. I'm fine. Sorry, I'm not gonna, and anyone that does say they care is lying through their fucking teeth. Unless, of course, they actually have a loved one. Where was I going? But yeah, I never thought COVID would be the reason that my podcast started to get some traction. Never in a million years. I don't give a shit. Right? Is this table not balanced? Or is this water bottle not balanced? My mind doesn't work correctly until I go to the gym, if you can't tell. But we're already kind of into this one, so we're just going to make it a solo rant. We'll do 5 more minutes. So, I've always had the idea of what it's going to be next. But even when I lived in Maryland, I was like, so back to the entire thing with the popular mechanics and the whatever. I was like, it's going to succeed. I'm going to get monetized by YouTube. And of course, it ended up being an investor. And then when I had my new studio and I set up the cubby, I was like, the next cubby is going to be even bigger and better. No, there isn't going to be another cubby, but there is going to be a cooler studio that is bigger and better. I'm going to move to New England and, live out in the woods. No, not at all. And the reason I moved up here is I think I still did family stuff, but it expedited my move up here. I was like, I need to go be closer to family, and I got a place in downtown. Like, I never in a million years thought I'd fucking live downtown. I hate cities. I actually kind of like it now. I knew I wanted to move from like an Xbox, so I was like, how do I make this? Because I would do the podcast, and then I would just game on Xbox by myself for like 6 hours every night. And I was like, I'm leaving so much content on the floor, like, because like I know I can make this a funny narrative. And then a fan sends me the fucking gaming PC. What the fuck? And now I have the gaming channel, Petropatriarchy. So the whole thing is that I have these ideas of where I want it to go, these general ideas. I don't know how they're going to get there, right? You set your GPS for the wherever. I'm in Portland. I set the GPS for Boston, and I'm going to drive there and go to a Red Sox game. I have the end point of where I want to go. I have no idea how I'm getting there. I might take a train. I might fly. I might take the car. If I take the car, I don't know the fucking roads. I don't know which highway it is. I don't know which overpass it is. I don't know what loop-de-loop fucking bullshit I got to do. What street light I got to come by 7-Eleven where I go in and piss and buy overpriced Dasani. I don't fucking know. But it gets me there nonetheless. So, like, I have an idea of what I want the 5th gen studio to be. Very loosely, but I don't know. Is it going to be so here's like the limitation, right? So there's like a new building going up across town. I've already called and like reserved the top floor apartment. I'm on the 5th floor now. I want to get on the 18th floor because, I don't know, height's cool. But even that is almost kind of the limited mindset of like being a firefighter with leather wings. Right now, what I'm doing is it's like extrapolating the cubby studio to what would be an even cooler cubby studio. Well, you're not going to have that. You're going to have a fucking full room. So, like, right now, I have this almost limited mindset of, like, where am I now? I'm on the 5th floor of an apartment with a cool studio. My limited imagination says, let's extrapolate this. Let's go to the top floor of an even newer apartment building and have an even cooler Berlin nightclub studio. It's probably not going to be that. It's going to be something I didn't imagine. But I have like a general loose idea. And it's I want like a central computer. Right now it's bifurcated between Mac and PC. And it's physically separated. There's two different tables, 2 different chairs, 2 different microphones, 2 different cameras, 2 different keyboards, 2 different... I have this idea for this like central computer, like a fucking $100,000 gaming PC, something that I can run everything on. I can run the podcast on and the gaming PC. That's just like that's kind of like the imagery I get, is just this central thing that's like cooled by a freezer. I have this like image of like insulated pipes carrying like salted glycerin, which has a much lower freezing point, bunch of copper like tubing and shit, and like an industrial freezer, and like all very sleek and steel, and everything. The imagery I get is like this is this central piece, and everything in the studio kind of comes out from it. Like all the power will also be there. Now, I don't know what that will look like. Right now, my limited mind says it'll be in a room like this, and it will look like this. But no, I have this idea to move away from Apple. And it's not necessarily moving away from Apple or moving towards PC. I want to move to one uniform system, and I want everything to run off that. Because right now, I got to invest a ton of money in the podcast and then a ton of money in the gaming setup. I want to make it one thing, not so I can save money, but so I can spend double the amount on the same shit. So instead of spending $500 on a microphone for this and $500 on a microphone for that, I want to use the same microphone and be in the same chair, but then just spend $1,000 on an even cooler microphone. Instead of having an iMac and then a 86-inch flat screen, I'd rather get rid of the $3,000 iMac than the $1,000 flat screen and get a $4,000 8K 98-inch instead of a 4K 86-inch. So like that's the general idea I have of the next studio. And then even timelines, I don't understand. It might be later this year. It might be in like summer 2025. I don't know. Physically, I don't know where it is. I think it's going to be in an apartment in Portland, which probably means it won't be because I've never been correct. I'll probably be at like my own, log cabin somewhere up in the woods. But I do have this idea of just this central, just beast of a machine. Like I was watching videos last night on the gaming stream of these like custom gaming PCs. And like I want that, but scaled up even more. Like I've looked up workstation PCs before. Or like I don't think you can play video games on them. They're for like machine learning and like molecule modeling and shit, like protein folding. But they're just these sick things with just like tubes and cooling radiate, and they're not even like gaming PC like that. Or like an Inventum is even bigger than that. No, these things are the size of like an entire desk, and they're so sexy. They look like the inside of a car. I have this idea for that, but like even bigger. Like fuck SLI linking 2 graphics cards. I want like 4 3090s in series. I want like 10 64 core Threadripper Pro 5995X, whatever the fuck that thing is. I want like a fucking 100 terabytes of like 6600 millihertz SSD. Like I want it to be retarded. I want to actually have to like contract someone to come in and build it. And then I want it, fuck water cooling. I want glycerin. Glycerin has a much lower freezing point than water. And then I want it to be salted, so that lowers it even more. And I want it to be through copper tubes, and I want it to be like wrapped with insulation. And then I want those going into like an external freezer unit and have it go in there, and then just have like 2,000 feet of coils, so that there's only ever like 10% of the fluid is out here and 90% is being chilled. And I want it to be like glowing and pulsing, and I want it to look like a fucking, it's like in Captain America when they're building the AI, the Ultron AI, and it's like you can see it's like this weird thinking brain. Or in iRobot when they like open up Sonny and you realize the doctor's like, what the fuck is this? Because it's not the normal robot operating system. It's like some next gen DARPA tech shit. That's what I want it to be. I want you to look at it and just be like, that is alien. What the fuck is that? Like, that's what I want it to be. Just not even normal. Like, I don't want it to be something that you can go mod at, right? You can go get a dope $3,000 gaming PC. You can go get a top tier $6,000. You can get like a fucking wild $13,000. You can go dicks out and get a $27,000 Inventum. You can get a custom one for like $30,000. I think there's one right now called the Cube that's like $51,000. Fuck all that shit. I want something that is just absurd. I mean, like 240 frames per second, 16K, like modeling just entire cities dissolving. I want this thing to be a fucking animal of a machine with like, I don't know, like 5,000 terabytes of external storage. Like that's the idea I have. And it's less of a studio and that's more of the idea. I want that, and I want it to be a central piece. I want it to literally be in the center of the fucking studio. And it just be like this like pulsing, thinking, just cool, like go up to it. Instead of a computer being warm to the touch, I want it to be cold to the touch. I want it to be like, what the fuck is that? And I want to be able to like stream while editing. I want to be able to stream a podcast while exporting another podcast in 4K while streaming a fucking video game in 8K and hosting a server. I want it to be just an animal. I want you to not even give a shit about the podcast or the gaming stream. I want you to just watch for the computer and be like, oh, that's the fucking retard with the HAL 9000. That's what I want it to be. Just this weird, just fucking... And then I'll get that, and it'll be cool for a little while, and I'll get bored of it, and then I'll make another one of these episodes in a year and a half, and people watching this will say, this guy's fucking insane. And you won't be wrong. Thank you for watching, guys. I gotta go to the gym. Peace.